Hey guys, Eddie here from Delete Property. Today I want to do a quick video, and this video has been requested by, I think, the person name was Robert. So Robert, if you're watching, this video is for you, mate, and we're going to talk a little bit today about conveyancing. Before we get started, I just want to stress that this is just from my experience. I've bought a couple hundred properties for myself and for clients through the buyer's agency, and this video is just touching base on a little bit about conveyancing, what happens, the process, all the ins and outs, and I'm just going to do pretty much dot points right here on the board. So I'm going to try not to get too in depth and just speak very basic and simple about it. So I hope this helps for anyone that is looking to get into the property market and buy the first 1-2 properties or whatever. So just dot points, once again, this can range and there's always variables that come into play. There's a million different facets, but I'm going to try to keep this video under 5 to 6 minutes, hopefully. And bear in mind, every single state is different most of the time. So right now, I've been buying a lot in Queensland, so Brisbane, Gold Coast, and those kind of areas in around 2017 to 19, where it is right now. It is different to Sydney, Melbourne, and all that kind of stuff. So what usually happens in terms of conveyancing? First, I guess number one, we'll do number one here, would be offer. So number one would be offer on the property. So this first when a person or buyer's agent or whoever is negotiating the property, they'll put an offer on the property. Is it accepted, or that negotiation period? I guess that's the first step. So someone's going to contact with the seller's agent, bank administrator, seller directly, whatever. They put an offer on the property. It's either accepted or negotiated back and forth. So that's number one. Once it is then set on a price, the seller said, yep, I'll accept it. The buyer says, yes, this is the price. Then what happens from there, it moves on to contract. So contract to sale. So just put offer / neg for negotiated. Number two would be contract or contract to sale. So it usually gets put on the contract, put on paper. Nothing's official until it's on paper. This is just in Queensland, bear in mind. So we usually say, we're buying property for 300,000. We'll get the contract sorted. So usually the seller's agent or whoever's selling the property or solicitor will get a contract of sale organised. They'll usually insert any special conditions that they have. You can insert special conditions in a contract of sale, such as in Queensland, there's things such as a risk clause that you can get rid of. You can delete it so that puts the risk back on the seller, not the buyer, when going to purchase. That's a whole other kettle of fish, so I won't get into it. But there's other things you can put in there, such as early access. If you need early access prior to settlement to get in and fix things up and do renovations. Most of the properties that we buy, especially myself, for clients, they're already tenanted, so I don't really usually worry about that kind of stuff. Other things like you can pull out due to title searches and all that other kind of stuff, but most of the time special conditions, there's only a couple that we already put in. Actually, come to think of it, there's another special condition, which is tenant prior to settlement. If it doesn't have a tenant in place, you can request and have it as part of your negotiations that you put a special clause within that. So I might just put cause / work out your special clauses, special clauses to put in the contract. So yeah, tenant prior to settlement's one. Another one is if the tenant is on a periodic lease, you can request that they must sign a new lease before settlement so that you know you've got a tenant locked in. Hopefully I'm not going too fast or speaking too fast in this video, but so that's number two, contract of sale. Then I guess we'll summarize it and say first, usually what happens is the buyer signs. So the buyer will initial every single page, sign the contract, and also if it's a townhouse or unit, they'll sign a disclosure statement as well. But if it's just a house, just contract to sell, that's it. We'll have usually in Queensland, as an example, we'll have 7, 14 or 21 days. Here we always do 21 days to give you more time, when that's a finance clause and pest and building clause, if that's part of your negotiation within the contract of sale. So usually once the buyer signs, then the seller signs. That's officially, once they both sign, both parties are signed, the contract is dated and both the contract basically exchange. So that's when the date starts of the contract. So contract dated, so we'll put exchange slash contract dated. Contract dated. So that's number 3. That's officially when your time starts, number 3, and then you've got 21 days. So falls during the 21-day period, or it could be 7, 14, or a different state would be a cooling off period. But 21-day period and the contract date starts, usually 35 days, 40 days, whatever day, however long of contract settlement you negotiate. So 21 days starts for finance, and that's usually with us, finance and pest. During that 21-day period, you organise things like you get your full finance approval organised during the 21 days, and you also do things like organising a pest and building inspection. You have a qualified pest and building inspector to go out there and check it and all that kind of stuff during this 21-day period. So you usually got 21 days to organise everything, assuming once everything that to go between that day and number 5 would be going unconditional. Unconditional, excuse the writing, maybe even spelling errors, who knows. Unconditional is basically when the property officially, there's nothing conditional on the contract, but between here and here, that's a pretty kind of a lengthy period sometimes. You need to go unconditional, you have to get your solicitor or conveyancer to fully show them that you're fully getting finance approval. So if you need help with conveyancer or solicitor for New South Wales or Queensland, we've got one here in the office that does both. That's a big thing as well. If you have a conveyancer or solicitor, if you're buying in Queensland as an example, or any other state that you're not in, you must make sure your solicitor conveyancer knows the laws for different states. As an example, I deal with hundreds of clients. Quite often they'll say, oh, I've got a solicitor conveyancer already, don't need to worry about that. I bought properties already. But they're only for New South Wales, they're not for Victoria, or they're not for Queensland. So you have to have one that knows that exact state laws and regulations. So there's a tip for the day. But between the 21-day period, you need to show your solicitor that and go back and forth with the bank and get your official finance approval letter. The solicitor must have a finance approval letter before you can go unconditional. So they have to physically see something and have it in writing from you that you're ready to go unconditional, and the bank will definitely approve that loan. The pest and building during this time, you can sometimes go back and renegotiate it if the things that need to be done. Say, hey, we need a price reduction for this list of 10 things. The seller, I stress that that's not always the case. Sometimes the seller can pretty much just say, hey, get stuffed. And because, especially if you're already buying a bargain to begin with. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So you're really going to have to figure out which one's best for you. But during that period, you can have your solicitor organise what happens, especially in terms of the owner fixing up other things or doing price reductions. But essentially, you want to get unconditional and you agree, say, yes, I'm satisfied with the pest and building, and yes, my finance is fully approved. Then technically the property goes unconditional. So moving forward from unconditional, as there is a lot of steps, you usually pay what's called a balance deposit. So especially in Queensland, there's 2 deposits, which I just realised I missed one of the steps. After the contract's exchange, you do need to pay an initial deposit. So there's a lot of different steps in here, but after jumping back to point 3, you have to pay usually $1,000 deposit. So $1,000 deposit that holds the property for this 21-day period to start. And then once everything, the finance is sorted and the pest and building is sorted, it goes unconditional. Then you pay what's called a balance deposit. Balance deposit is pretty much there says it locks it in. And, especially from a sales agent perspective, balance deposits, sales agents usually take their commission out of the balance deposit and the initial deposit, and the remainder funds get sorted out or prorated upon settlement. So that's behind the scenes, and that can vary, but you're just sharing my knowledge. So usually you have a balance deposit of say 5% or 10%, or sometimes we always negotiate lower, such as like $4,000. So $4,000 balance deposit to say, yes, the property's locked in, you paid that and you paid that. The $5,000 in total gets deducted at settlement. We've got unconditional, and then at point 6, we've got settlement. So settlement, and in between point 5 and 6, what happens is now that it's unconditional, the bank and the solicitor have to book in settlement. So this is usually done via an online system called PEXA, P-E-X-A. That does automated settlements. So that's between the government, the finance lender, whether it's a big bank or whoever, and the solicitor has to book it in. So that's where they do the adjustments, so such as like the council rates, the water rates, the management fees, all that kind of stuff, all the expenses, and working out how much money the buyer is getting from the bank, from finance, and what's the exact figure that they have to have in their account for the bank to withdraw or put in the solicitor's trust account to be taken out upon settlement. So there's a lot of variables, but I'm just trying to summarize it. And yeah, so between going unconditional, it's pretty much the bank organising that. Usually between here and here, you need to organise landlord insurance to have that ready for upon settlement as well, and things like property management and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so it's working towards every single step, and then settlement. So this conveyancing process, there is a lot that happens as well behind the scenes. So this video is just to simplify things, but if you need some more information, we do have a solicitor here in the office which you can chat to totally free. Just contact us at admin@delingpg.com. We'll put you in contact with the solicitor. They're who I use, they're who all clients use. Even if you're finding properties on your own and you need a solicitor for New South Wales, Queensland or wherever, and it doesn't matter what state you're in, you can use our solicitor as well. So I hope this video helps. Once again, point 1, offer negotiation. And then we've got, once the contract's signed, special clauses and all that kind of stuff, you put the buyer signs, then the seller signs. You put down $1,000 deposit to hold it, lock it in for 21 days. Then the date starts as of the contract date. Then we've got the 21 days, organise your finance, organise your pest and building during that 21-day period, renegotiate from there if possible, or just say you're satisfied and move on to the next step. Then we've got the balance. Once you go unconditional, balance deposit is due, usually within 48 hours. This $1,000 due usually within 48 hours of signing the contract to sale as well. So 48 hours, you pay the initial deposit. Then after 21 days, you pay $4,000. Then you go unconditional. Then from there on, the bank and the solicitor book it in through PEXA, the settlement, and they have to calculate all the adjustments. So they make sure the adjustments are, all the council rates and the water rates and all that kind of stuff are paid up to the date of when the property becomes yours, and so then you pay it moving forward from there. So this is just a summarized version, went way over the 6-minute period that I had planned, but I hope this video helps. Thanks for your questions, everybody. Send them through. If you have any questions about this, give us a call or shoot us an email, and I look forward to chatting to you guys soon. Bye.